All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Cast. I'm here with an incredible individual. You're going to want to listen to this till the very end. I've been thinking about this one for a while, and I'm already crying, and that's not it's not a bad thing, right? We're just saying it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Todd Sylvester is a man who has honestly changed my life directly, but also indirectly through family members, through one of my best friends, who I would say Todd was one who was instrumental in saving this best friend's life. And I'm not going to dive into that story. That's that individual story to tell,
Sure.
but just so much gratitude for you, who you are, the life you've lived, the experience that you've gained, and the way that you're putting that experience to use to benefit the lives of others is miraculous. It is incredible. And so I'm
Yeah.
just honored to be here
Yeah, thank
with
you.
you. And Todd also has a podcast. So as a new podcast host, it's a little intimidating when you have how many episodes do you have, Todd?
467, I think.
Okay,
Something
467.
like that.
Yeah. And we're working in the 40s right now, so you know, we're a tenth of what you've done, and it's not an easy task, but it's incredible the relationships that are built, the stories that you get to hear. So I just imagine like 400 and something stories that you've been able
Yeah,
to
thank
highlight or tell or learn
Yeah,
from. It's pretty incredible. So
it is, like, when you're sitting firsthand with someone and you hear their story, face to face, I feel like I'm the one, gaining all the benefits and the blessings from that. But
yeah.
it really is. I've learned from so many people, and every time I'm done with one, I'm like, man, I am the luckiest dude. I pinch myself and go, man, this is amazing. But God is good, and I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm lucky to be here, and I'm blessed. And like you said, I've been a part of your family in some different avenues, and I love your family. I love what you guys do. I love what you stand for. You were also on my podcast, and that was a remarkable one. And the feedback on that was amazing. So yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to rub shoulders with you and your family. And shout out to your family. I love you guys. I love the Farnes, and they're amazing.
Thank you. No, it means a
Yeah,
lot. We we hold the Todd Sylvester name in very high regard for many reasons, for many people, and it's you're just a blessing.
thank you.
I don't know how else to say it other than yeah, thank you for being that blessing in our life. And you've been just what our families needed on so many occasions. So
Thanks.
Todd is we'll dive into his story, but not only does he have this podcast where he's how long did it take to do 400 or something episodes?
I'm on year 8.
Year 8. Wow,
Yeah,
it's incredible. Yeah,
I try to post one a week consistently for 8 years, and
it's amazing.
kind of slow and steady.
And it's the Beliefcast.
Beliefcast, yeah. So
That's awesome. And he's a keynote speaker. If you have an event you'd want him to come and speak to the belief system and tell his story, it's incredible. And then you're a therapist at is it Wasatch?
Yeah, I'm a counselor.
Counselor?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a substance abuse disorder counselor, and I've been there for 12 years and have my own private coaching practice, if you will. I've been doing that for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And it kind of, when I say that out loud, I'm like, man, am I really that old?
You must be drinking Mountain Ops or something. You've got the mountain of youth over here that Todd's found, because you're a very fit individual, and you have been an athlete throughout your life, and I want to talk about this whole story. I mean, I've heard this story and I've seen it on the television. I mean, our church that we are both a member of, members of, did a highlight story, a film about you. That was just incredible. I remember, having this individual in my life that was working with you, and then seeing your story and thinking, wow, this is incredible that this individual gets to work with you, and look at the story that he's telling. And then I've heard you speak, and I'm not going to go into it because you need to just share it. But it's so powerful and so life-changing. And I know that there's people in our audience that have been through some situations or are fighting some of these battles that you once fought, and that need to hear this message for multiple reasons. So tell me, where did this all begin? I mean, did you grow up here in Utah? Or?
Yeah, so I was born and not raised the whole time. I was born, I think when I was 2 years old, my family moved to Colorado. We were there till second grade. Then we moved back, and I've been here ever since. So
Okay.
basically, yeah, it's been my whole life here in Utah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you mentioned just a moment ago you're grateful to be alive. You're grateful to be
Yeah.
here. And that there
Yeah.
is a moment just to kind of leave a little, you know, dangling out there. There's a moment where Todd was going to take his own life, and we'll get
Yeah.
there, but you need to listen to this story. Did you have a what was your home life growing up like?
I grew up with two loving parents. They constantly told us and my other siblings that we were loved, and I knew that. So there was never a shortage of that. But, we were a dysfunctional family, like probably most everyone out there.
Yeah.
And, my dad, he was a drinker. My mom eventually got addicted to opiates, and I kind of just grew up in that environment. Great people who just were doing the best of what they could with the
Mm,
tools they had, and I just kind of grew up in that environment. So it became just the norm to me. When
mm,
you're a kid, this is just what it is,
mm,
watching, we have parties at our house and people are drinking and things like that. And
mm,
I didn't know anything different.
mm.
So, and I just, I honestly loved my childhood at the end
Yeah.
of the day. I really actually did. And obviously you can look back and go, well, maybe we shouldn't have done this. But overall, yeah, my mom and dad were very loving. And, my sister, passed away a few years ago, and I
I'm
have a
sorry.
younger brother. And so I love him to death. But we had some issues where we didn't talk about, the tough things about drugs or sex or things that we need to be more aware of, and especially in today's environment
Yeah.
where communication is key with our
Yeah.
loved ones, especially our children. We got to have that communication open, but we didn't really necessarily have that. But at the end of the day, I knew my parents loved me, and that was
Mm.
really good for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, you having that around you and some of the substance that was, would you say was your father an alcoholic, or was he just a
No, he
casual
was.
drinker?
He
Or
was just he would maybe have a drink every night,
yeah,
and one drink, and he
yeah,
was a very successful businessman. He still is to this day.
yeah,
But it was just the norm, and I'm a lot like my mom. Is once we get into a substance, we're all in, and
all in.
everyone get out of the way.
Huh.
And where my dad was more of he can control it and that kind of thing. But I was a lot like my mom, where as soon as I started tasting alcohol and other drugs, I was all in. I was like,
And
okay.
when did that start for you?
So I took my first sip at 11 years old.
Wow.
Both my parents worked, and so my dad had a wet bar in the basement, and one day, me and my little brother, who happened to be 9 at the time, we went back there and we opened up one of the bottles and started taking some sips. I didn't get drunk at 11, but we knew what we were doing was wrong,
Hmm.
but there was something about the rush of doing that.
You
It
kind
was
of
like,
like that?
yeah. And again, with both parents not being home, we just kind of had the free reign of the house, and we'd get into trouble, to be quite honest. We were doing things we shouldn't be doing. And
Hmm.
that kind of opened the door. And then when I really got introduced a couple years later to marijuana, that's when the wheels fell off for me. At least the beginning of it. It didn't really notice until a little bit later, but that's when I found marijuana. That opened up the door to every other drug on the planet for me.
Was that like here in Utah? I feel like I've grown up in a bubble. I didn't really see. I didn't know what a wet bar was. You know,
Right.
and I don't. Um, was that super accessible? Like all of that, like
Yeah.
marijuana and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Like his, like
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know. I don't know why I was like felt sheltered or protected. Like, but it was not until I moved outside of the state of Utah, and
yeah.
I went to my first soccer tryout in Indiana,
Mm.
and some kids came up and said, do you want to smoke weed with us?" And I said, "I can't." And they're like, "Well,
What?
why? Do you have something to do?" Or like, I was like, "No, I can't." I actually, here's the honest truth of what I said. I said, "I'm a Mormon." And they
Yeah.
said, "What's a Mormon?" And I said, "Oh no, like
It's someone who
they
doesn't
don't
smoke pot.
understand me and I don't understand them." Like
Yeah.
that's all I knew is like, I
Yeah.
just don't do that. But I'd never been invited. I'd never like
Yeah.
until then. So at 11, 12, 13 years old here in Utah, it was accessible,
It
huh?
was accessible. I got introduced by a friend, and then once you're kind of in the world, then you notice it everywhere,
Yeah.
and you're like, man, it is everywhere, and it really was.
Mm,
You could get anything at any time, anywhere. But again, it's obviously, the old saying, you're the average of the 5
yeah.
people you hang around the most.
Yeah.
So the people I was hanging around with, who I love to this day, that was our world, and
Yeah.
so it was just that's what we did, and it was just easy to get, easy access to everything, and so someone such as yourself who was in a different crowd, yeah, you weren't even focused on it. So you're just like, I didn't even know that
Yeah.
existed, you know? So, and back then too, you kind of hid most of it except for maybe drinking.
Mm.
When you're partying with your friends, you never say, well, yeah, I'm also doing cocaine and I'm
Mm.
also doing, you know, Robitussin cough syrup. And
Mm.
you don't get into that kind of stuff, but you know, so.
Those the harder drugs like cocaine and such, is that like at an early age as well?
Yeah. Yeah. That started when I was, end of my junior year in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And is that to just kind of keep finding
Yeah,
the next
the way
high
the
or?
cocaine happened is I was wasted at a party, and one of my buddies says, "Hey, come on in here into the bathroom," and he pointed down at this line of cocaine. He goes, "That's for you." I mean, it was as simple as that. I'm like, "Oh, really?" I didn't even hesitate, just
Mm.
snorted it, and all of a sudden I was like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, I love this."
Mm.
And so that's how I got introduced to that, and that again, that's the thing. Anyone who has struggled with drugs or alcohol, it's a progression.
Yeah.
It just seems like you're always looking for the new high.
Does
You
it
know,
because the other high wears off? You get
yeah, you kind of, alcohol and pot, you build up a tolerance to
okay.
those things. So you're not getting as high as you used to. You're not getting, it takes you 24 beers to get wasted before, it used to be six.
Mm.
And all of a sudden you get to this point where, oh, I'll try that pill, or I'll snort that line, or I'll try this and that. So again, it's a progression, they always say marijuana is the gateway
Yeah.
drug. And
Yeah.
to this day, I still believe that.
Was this all to like just have a good time, be a part of the party, or was it that were there things you were trying to like cover up in life, feelings that you were trying to,
Yeah, that's
kind
a
of
great
cope with,
question.
or?
Yeah, great question. I mean, honestly, it was to have a good time with my friends. But if I can sit back and analyze it now, it's I wanted to fit in, and I think at that age, that's what we all want. We want a group of friends. We want people to like us.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, ooh, I found my clan,
Mm.
and people liked me, I liked them, and then I became like, well, if this is how it is, I'm going to be the guy that's throwing the parties, and
Mm.
I'm going to be the guy that's supplying the
Mm.
drug, and I wore it as a badge of honor. I really did. I started getting this reputation, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And despite at the same time, I'm this basketball player. I wanna play in the college realm and maybe even the NBA one day. And that
Yeah.
was my dream as a kid. And so I'm doing these, side by side. Little did I know that the drugs was destroying the dream,
Mm.
but I didn't realize it until it was too late.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You said that you kind of keep this, like, other than the drinking, did your
Yeah.
parents know you were drinking and doing the drugs, or were you able to hide that?
Yeah.
Um,
So my parents knew I was drinking. Um, they always gave me the advice, don't drink and drive.
mm-hmm.
And as a kid, I took that as, oh, if they say don't drink and drive, they're giving me the green light to
To
drink.
drink.
Now, they didn't tell me, hey, Todd, go drink and that's okay. They never said that, but I interpreted it that way. So they knew I was drinking. Again, we didn't talk about these things, but I hid everything else.
Everything else.
They didn't have any idea that I was smoking pot and snorting coke and
Is there,
popping
like, if
pills.
that's going on in someone's life, is there some signs that you can see, okay, they're not just drinking, they're doing all this, or is it kind of, can people avoid the appearance of it?
Maybe in the beginning, but eventually, yeah, you can see
What
signs.
what are what is
I
it
mean,
that shows?
depression. I mean, I had low energy. I was very edgy, angry, snappy. Um, Thoughts of just watch. Like if a depressed person walked in here right now, we could just look at them and know. You could just feel their energy
Yeah.
that something's wrong.
Yeah.
And obviously, you hear the old story, the old cliche, the grades drop, and that's all true. I mean,
Mm.
because again, you're focused on getting high and partying. So there's those kind of things. You start hanging around different friends, or you start isolating a lot, and
Mm.
you avoid family functions. All those things kind of like point to something's wrong, and that can happen without drugs, but typically, that's a telltale sign that this person's using something.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
And nobody picked up on that side of what you were doing.
No, my parents knew I was depressed. My mom was worried about it, but at the same time, my mom's going through her own addiction struggles.
Yeah. So,
My dad and my mom were, not on the best of terms either all the time. So my dad was a hard worker, very successful at what he did, and I really admired that. But he was also gone a lot. But he also coached a lot of my teams growing up. He really did his best to be around and taught me a lot of good lessons.
yeah.
But I think again, it was easy to hide because my parents were busy
Yeah.
and they were working, trying to put food on the table. So again, they're in their own, that's what I'm saying. They did the best they could with what they had and what they knew. You know, it's easy to look back, well, parents should have done this and your parents should have done that. Yeah, they should have, but they didn't. And, you know, and my parents didn't seek out like, hey, Todd, I hope you become an addict. It just wasn't talked about. You know.
Yeah. How long have you been sober?
36 years
36
on August
years.
5th, this past August 5th, 36 years.
That's amazing.
But who's counting?
Well, it's definitely to be celebrated. I mean, I just introduced you to our new CEO, Keith, and he just hit the 20-year mark. He was on his very first hunt with MTN Ops as he celebrated that. And it was an exciting and an emotional day to celebrate that milestone in his life, you know? And so, I don't know how to empathize with the substance abuse. I've never tested these things. I've never done them. I've never been caught up in them. So, but I've seen the effects that they've had on individuals and on families. And so for somebody to do that and to go for that long, is it something that still does it stick around as a temptation, or is it?
It doesn't. And I think this is one of the biggest lies in recovery is that you're always going to fight this. And people might, you know, push back and say, well, hey, I've been clean for this many years and I'm still fighting it. And I'm not saying that that's not true. I think if I was to sit down with this person, we can dial that in and figure out where's this stemming from. Because a lot of what I see with my clients is that they think they're missing out. Like if I can't have a drink with my meal, if I can't have a drink and go to this concert, if I can't smoke pot and go enjoy this ball game or whatever. See, they bought into this belief that they have to have something in them synthetically to make the event or the circumstance better. And I always say, okay, I get that on some level because I've been there. But what if you can have that experience and it's amazing without the mind-altering substance? And they'll go, yeah, I'm open to that, right? So I just know that I don't wake up every day and go, I hope I don't use today. Because I think there's a lot of factors too, though, Trevor. I mean, I have purpose in my life. I have a higher power in my life. I have a family. Have guys like you. These things that like I know build me up, even when I'm not in the room with these people, right? You know, I call them your darkest hour friends. And we all need that. And anyone listening to this, I know that if you're struggling, I mean, who's that one friend that you know you could call? If it might even be a teacher, it might be a mom or a dad or a grandparent even. Like who could you call in your darkest hour that will have your back in that moment? And all that plays into, I know I have that in my life. I do. And I've also built that. We have to take responsibility too. I have to build my community, and that's up to me. You know, if I say I have no friends, okay, I have to look in the mirror. That's on Todd. Go make friends then, Todd. Not always easy to do because we want friends to come to us naturally, and that does happen. But I think we have the power to create a community. I think we are powerful human beings. I think we're powerful people. You know, I often tell my clients, we are so powerful that we can convince ourselves that we're powerless. That's how powerful we are. And because that is the lie. And so I don't fight it. And that's a long answer to your question, but I do get riled up on it a little bit because you don't fight it the rest of your life. It's just a narrative someone said once and then everyone buys into it. It's not the truth. You know, if you break away from that but you're still longing for it, sure, you're going to white knuckle it and you're going to fight it every day, you know, because then what that tells me, you still have something missing. What is it? Let's dial in and find out what is that. And if we can dial into that and we help them heal that piece, then it's like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying, Todd. Right? And sometimes that takes work, and people have been through hard times, trauma and, you know, abuse. There's all kinds of things but man, there are stories I can share one after the other of people who have overcome that and have never looked back and are just thriving. You know, they've conquered. They have conquered their trauma. They have conquered the abuse. They have conquered their demons, whatever you want to call it. And that's the beautiful thing. And, you know, like your book talks about, man, you can overcome these things. We weren't meant to come down here on this planet and play small without any help either. Right? God helps those who help themselves. And the moment I started helping myself, God was showing up in my life on every angle, which was really cool.
That's awesome. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how you found your purpose and how you,
Yeah.
but you're saying it's not a temptation anymore. Like
Yeah.
people go to the AA meetings and they say, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I'm an alcoholic." What do you think of that?
I don't like it
Okay,
because I think it's a lie.
there.
And
Okay,
I know I'm going to get pushback on
that's
this.
okay.
I
I want.
apologize to the AA community. AA saved my mom's life. I have much respect.
Yeah.
But think about this. I haven't had a drink in 36 years. Why would I stand up and say, "Hi, I'm Todd. I'm an alcoholic"? Here's the truth. I used to be, and I don't deny that.
Mhm.
I am the first to admit I used to be an alcoholic. I used to be a drug addict. I used to be a mess. But today I am clean. That is the truth. So why would I start off something with a lie? Again, I'm not denying that there is an
Right.
issue there. Like I'll even tell my client, they'll be sitting across me, they've been clean for 12 days. And I'll ask them, are you an addict? And they're like, yeah, oh yeah. And I go, oh, you really? Did you use today? No. Did you use yesterday? No. The day before? No. Day before. And the truth is, you used to be. And I tell them, connect those dots.
Hmm.
I go, you've already overcome addiction. You've already overcome it. And they sit there and they sit back and go, no one has ever told me that before,
Hmm.
ever. I'll get clients start to cry and say, thank you. I've always struggled labeling myself this or that. Now, if I was actively using, the truth is, yeah, I'm an addict right now. I'm an alcoholic. Absolutely. Not denying it. But the truth is, I'm clean. And that, because words have power.
Yeah.
You know, sports science has now proven that when you say something out loud, it's 10 times more powerful than if you just think it.
Hmm.
And then if you say something negative out loud, it's 4 to 7 times the multiple of that 10.
Hmm.
So what that basically says is if you say something negative out loud, you have a 40 to 70% chance of that becoming your reality.
Wow.
And that was by the late Trevor Mawad, who wrote the book, It Takes What It Takes.
Hmm.
He was the life coach to Russell Wilson, the quarterback, who's now the quarterback for the New York Giants.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
Powerful stuff because words have power. So if that's true, which I believe it is, then why would I say something negative about me when it's not even true?
Yeah.
It used to be, though.
So you help your patients
Yes.
speak truth about
Yes.
themselves and who they are.
Yep.
What are
words
some of
matter.
those truths that you help them know about themselves?
One of my favorite ones, I do this on day one with someone in a session. I have it above my head.
I remember.
You remember this?
Yeah.
And I have the client on day one. Think about it. This client just maybe got out of prison or they just got out of detox. They've blown up their lives. They've been shooting up with heroin, whatever. And I have them read this statement above my head. And it's my own quote that I put together based on some other things. But it says, the most delightful surprise in life is to suddenly recognize there's nothing wrong with you.
Hmm.
So I have my clients read this out loud on day one. And without fail, just like you're getting emotional, they get emotional. And I'll look at them. I said, no one's ever told you that, ever, have they? And they said, never. And I'll tell you what, I go, I know you may not fully believe that yet, but that's why I call it the most delightful surprise, because when it hits you, it's like, whoa, there it is. I know it. And it doesn't mean we don't have stuff to work on. What it means is to your core, you are unshakably good, period. And when you can get a client to start buying into that, it's, and it's not buying into something that's make believe, it's buying into the truth. But when they get it, they'll come in. I've had a client the other day that literally did a cartwheel out of my office because they're like, Todd, I got it.
That's so awesome.
And they did a cartwheel.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest truths I like to share and have my clients, embrace.
I love it because I remember reading that when I'm sitting there and it hit me like that when I sat there. Just we all feel our own inadequacies.
Sure.
Maybe we don't have substance abuse,
Right.
Tendencies or not, maybe not tendencies, but issues or addictions that we're dealing with. But we all are dealing with something.
For sure.
And to just be reminded, almost like the divine nature that's within us, and then to know individuals that have sat on that couch with you and looked up at that and have read that for the first time, having gone through much more difficult things than I have, and to feel like, wow,
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And so I almost get more excited for those that maybe have passed through difficulties that I haven't, that get to hear that from you or read that from you or experience it with you. It's like, oh, I love that people experience that when they sit down
Yeah.
and meet with you.
That's honestly, I think, the favorite part of what I do.
Mm,
I get to tell people the truth that there's nothing wrong. And they look at you like, dude, my life's a mess. What are you talking about? You know?
yeah.
And I say, I get it. But the truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. The problem is you tell yourself a story
Mm,
that there's something wrong with you.
yeah.
That's why you're doing what you're doing. One of the best definitions I've ever heard of depression is pretending to be someone you're not.
Mm,
So when I'm drinking, doing drugs, and I'm blowing up my life, yeah, I'm depressed because I have veered off of who I really am.
yeah.
So I'm pretending. I'm pretending. So one of the things I do with my clients is I help them answer the question who they are with conviction. When we get them there, that's the truth.
Mm,
And when you're there, then I always go, so where does drugs and alcohol fit in with this?
mm,
And they go, it doesn't. I go, there it is. But if you decide to go back to it, you're now pretending again.
mm.
So I always look at them, stop pretending.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Quit pretending you're this dude over here or this girl over here. It's no,
Yeah.
it's not what it is.
I've seen a lot of people even in business that are one way in business, one way at church, one
Yeah.
way at home, one way in the
Mhm.
community, and I'm like, what a suffocating way to live.
Oh,
And so that makes sense. The definition of depression, trying to be something that you're not,
yes.
and how suffocating that would put you
Yeah.
into a state of depression.
Yep.
And I've you just said it better than but I've always thought, like, I watch these individuals, it's like, no, just be who you are, and who
Yeah.
you are is right. It's good. It's true, you know?
Yeah.
And but yet I think we get caught up in so much comparison in life,
We
or
do.
we seek for, I've heard you speak about being liked or respected.
Yeah.
And I think that so many people want that. I just
Mhm.
want people to like me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when the respect is tell us about that. I've heard you
Well,
speak
yeah.
about
So
this.
I'll always ask, I'll get a group of, have a group of clients in a room, we're doing a little therapy session with all 16 people. And I'll ask them the question, do you guys want to be liked or respected? And 10, everyone, 100% of them say, I want to be respected. And I'll say, I believe you. But the truth is you guys all want to be liked.
Mm,
And they sit there for a minute and they're like, yeah. I go, because it feels good to be liked. Who doesn't want to be liked? I want to be liked, right? But I'd rather be respected by one than liked by 100. Now, 30 years ago, I would have told you, no, I want to be liked by
yeah,
100,
yeah.
maybe respected by one. But what's interesting about when we earn someone's respect is that eventually they like you anyways.
Mm,
So you get the best of both worlds. The like's just delayed.
yeah. And we want the instant
We want it
gratification.
now. Like I want them to so like if I call someone out in group, you know what? You're breaking rules. You're going to destroy yourself. And I'm calling you out in front of everyone. That person's not going to like me,
Yeah.
but eventually they're going to respect that I called them out
Mm,
because it could save their life.
mm.
And then eventually they're going to like me because I called them out. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah. You got to
So
let time do the hard work to
ex-
gain
there
that
you go. That's a good
the
point.
likes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're jumping in ahead of things, and we're learning so much, and I want to keep going. But we need to go back to your story. And you're in high school, and I know you were an athlete, and you had opportunities, and you're drinking and you're doing drugs daily. Is this a
Yeah, I mean, it didn't start out daily, but eventually got to that point. And even if it was something small, like back when I was in high school, speed was
okay?
a big popular thing, and we called them cross tops because they had like an X on top of the pill, and
Mm,
we'd crush them up and
mm,
snort them or pop them, and so, and I got to the point where when I knew that okay, this is getting probably out of hand, is when I was doing it with no one around.
mm,
So it's one thing to do it with your group of buddies. You're on a Friday night partying with your friends. But I noticed I started doing it when no one was around.
yeah,
Like I'd be by myself. I'd get high by myself, or I would throw down a few shots before I went to school. And, again, people oblivious, like, Todd wouldn't, Todd's not doing that.
yeah,
And here I'm walking to school with a buzz, and I'd show up high to a basketball practice, which that, I still kind of kick myself for that. Like, come on, Todd. Anyway. But yeah, so it became a daily thing. And then obviously when you get to that point, that's when the wheels kind of fall off
yeah.
of your life, if you will. Things start to unravel. And that's when people really start noticing, like, man, something's going on here.
Mm. School classes and the athletics, were you not performing the way that you?
Yeah. So yeah, it got to a place like I did amazing my sophomore year. I led the team in every category. Our varsity team took first in state that year.
Mm.
My junior year, I led the team in every category again,
Mm.
and we took second in state.
Mm.
My senior year, voted team captain with two other guys, and we took first in state again.
Wow.
But senior year is when the wheels started falling. I mean, I never showed high up to practice my sophomore, junior year. In my mind, I'm like, I would never do that. Basketball's my love.
Yeah.
Well, senior year, I was like, yeah, maybe I might play a little better today.
Oh.
So I'd get high and then go to practice, and then afterwards I would kick myself. I was really good at magnifying shame in my life. I thought I was this horrible person. That's what shame is. Shame is the lie. Shame is I'm this horrible person, and I'll never change. And if people really knew me, they would hate me. And that's a bad place to be.
Wow.
So then that also fueled like, well, I don't like this feeling either. So, let me get a little bump and get a little high and feel a little bit better for a minute. But again, you start building up a tolerance to all these drugs, and you're not quite getting the same experience as you did before. And then you're just like existing. You're just really existing. And then you get to this place where I don't even want to exist anymore. I don't want to be here.
And that's in your senior year. You're feeling
That start. Oh yeah, senior year. I would play a couple good games and then a couple really bad games.
So you were playing good enough to get offers for colleges?
I got a full ride scholarship offer a week after we took the state championship game. I was like, man, I even have the paper clipping. This will date me. Newspapers. You guys remember those? And I still have it in a box at home where the coach basically saying, hey, we're going to give Sylvester a full ride. And he pulled me aside. You got a full ride, man. And I was like, no way. And it was funny because the state final game, my senior year, I played the best game of my life. Like I just had a great game. Everything clicked and it was just flowing. And anyway, I think that also kind of maybe cemented some of these coaches to go, hey, maybe Todd can really do this. And,
Gotcha.
so yeah, I was thinking, man, I've got this in my hand. And then that's when things got really bad because I took that for granted, going, okay, I've already got it. Now I can party even harder because I've already got this, and then I'll try to clean up before the season starts.
Kind of, I can do this and be okay because I'm gonna slow down on it. And
yep, that's we call that a thinking error.
Yeah, thinking error. I like that.
I mean, that'd be a good idea, but that never happens.
Yeah,
if you're going gangbusters in this direction, to just all of a sudden say, oh, now I'm gonna just slow it down and not say that you can't do that, but for me personally, and this is my own personal, I couldn't. Again, I'm an all or nothing guy. If I'm all in, I am all in, good or bad. So I had to learn to point into the good areas and be all in over here.
Yeah. So while you're pointing down the bad areas, and you show up, did you go to play college ball?
So I start practicing with the team between my senior year and then the first year in college. So there was a camp for like a 2-week camp, and where you go in and you play some pickup games with the people that are all coming to that school, and coaches are there to, kind of analyze. They didn't do much coaching. They just kind of observed. Yeah. And my coach was about towards the end of it, towards about the end of the 2 weeks, pulled me into his office and sit me down just like this and all he said to me, he goes, "What's going on?" And right when he said that, I'm like, oh man, he knows I'm a mess. And I looked at him and said, hey, I know I'm not playing well. I will do better. I promise you, I'll work harder. And because I knew where he was going, I was scared to death. Yeah. The moment he said that, I thought, I know I'm in trouble. And then he goes, I don't know what's going on with you, Todd, but you're not the player that I thought you were. And there's kids that are walking on that want this more than you. And I'm taking away your scholarship.
Wow. Got pulled.
And it got pulled. And I was devastated. That's when I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. It was one of those, I literally got on my knees and cried in his office, said, please, I was begging him, like, please don't take this away. And he said, sorry, it's done. The decision's been made. And he said something to the effect like, hey, whatever's going on, you better figure that out. And I don't think he knew exactly what I was doing, but he knew something was off. Yeah. I mean, the rumors were flying at this point that, Todd's this alcoholic drug addict. So it wouldn't be surprising if he hadn't heard those same things.
So did that cause you to think, okay, I change things up, or did you dive deeper?
I went into shame,
Hmm.
and shame is the killer. I just went in like, I am the biggest loser. I practiced 2 or 3 hours every single day since 6th grade to blow it like this.
Hmm.
And now I got to go tell my dad I lost my scholarship, who had spent all thousands of dollars sending me to all the best camps in the country. I had a basketball court. He poured it on the side of my house just so I could practice. I didn't have to get a job as long as I practiced basketball.
Yeah.
My dad gave me every opportunity to be the best basketball player, and I got to go tell him I lost it.
Hmm.
I was devastated.
Hmm.
And then I thought, man, I got to tell my friends now too. I've been bragging, hey, I
Yeah.
got the scholarship,
Yeah.
you know, and now I got to go tell everyone this. So
Dang.
it was one of those like, I'm a loser and I just want to be dead. That's
Literally.
literally. Yep. I was like, I wasn't thinking of how to do it at the time. But I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here.
And did you come to that point where you were like,
yeah. So I ended up trying out several other universities and colleges here in Utah, a few out of state, to trying to get on like a walk on, even got cut from every single one of them. And then I found myself living down in Orem with 5 other guys, and we just lived in this party house, and that's all we did. I was attempting to go to school at Utah Valley Community College at the time. It was a community college way back then. And I'm just getting wasted. That's all I'm doing. I'm wasting my life away. I'm failing all my classes. I've got friends at this point who are my age getting married. They've got a kid on the way, or they even have a kid. They've graduated from college, and I've got no college credit, and I'm just drinking and wasting my life away. And I remember it was a Thursday. I decided I'm done. I'm going to end my life. So I planned it out. I knew exactly how I was going to do it. I was going to go home. I knew where the gun was. I knew where I was going to go in my backyard and take my life. I planned it all out. And that's what I decided to do. And so I'm heading down. For those who live in Utah, I'm driving down University Avenue, ready to get on the freeway to go home to end my life. And instead of hopping on the freeway, Utah Valley Community College is right there at the entrance of the freeway, right?
Yeah.
So I pull into there because at lunchtime, me and my friends would sit at this lunch table every day. It was kind of like our meeting place. We'd all just sit there and, you know, we'd get food, or we'd, you know, check out girls and talk about stuff. And I decided, and it had to have been around that time, so I decided to go there, kind of like a goodbye to my friends. And I walk in there, they're sitting there already, and I sit down, and I'm just in my head thinking about what I'm going to go home and do. I'm not talking to anyone. Everyone's just in their own conversations, and I'm just, you know, chilling in my head, thinking about, I don't want to be here anymore, and here's how I'm going to do it.
Wow.
And I'm just kind of thinking about that, right? Honestly. And then there was these 2 girls that would come sit at our table, and for whatever reason, we didn't invite them, but they would come sit with us. And I overheard them talking about fasting and prayer. As I'm in my head thinking about, I'm going to end my life, I'm done. And I hear fasting and prayer, the word fasting and prayer, that statement. And I don't know how to explain it, but I knew what prayer was. I honestly had no clue what fasting was. I really didn't. I'm like, what is that? That word fasting like just hit me in the chest. And I'm sitting there going, you know, and I didn't even dare look at him. I'm trying to eavesdrop. Like, what is this? What are they talking about? And I just sat there, and I'm like, and it was just like, what is that? And I thought, if those girls stand up and go to their class, or, you know, start to walk away, I'm gonna follow them and ask them. I didn't dare say anything at the table for whatever reason. I was afraid. And they, sure enough, they stand up, and I'm like, oh boy. And I thought, I'm gonna go ask them. So I stood up. I'm walking behind him. My heart's pounding. For whatever reason, I'm scared to death to even ask them, which is kind of silly when I think about it now. But I tap them on the shoulder. They turn around. They're like, what's up? And I said, hey, were you guys just talking about, I think you said fasting and prayer? And they're like, yeah, why do you want to know? And the reason why they said it like that, because I used to rip on them about their religion, about God,
You haven't had faith in God in your life?
None, zero. I mean, I wasn't raised religious at all. I didn't have any of that, no background in that whatsoever. So it was just all so new to me. But I just would rip on them because they would like invite us to go to church, and we're like, well, why don't you come party with us? And they'd be like, no, you know. And anyway, so I said, hey, no, I'm serious. I really want to know that. For some reason, that really hit me when you guys said that. Can you explain that to me? And they go on to explain, like, in our religion, we fast once a month. We start with a prayer. We go the whole day without food or drink, and we end with a prayer. And to be honest with you, Trevor, as they're explaining it to me, I'm thinking, what's the point of this? This is weird. Why would you go without food? You know, it just didn't register. And I finally decided, I said, what's the point? And I'll never forget one of the girls says, if you want help from God. And for the first time in my life, Trevor, I thought, is there a God? And would he help me right now? That's where my mind went. And I told the girls thanks, and I walked away. And as I walked away, I thought, I'm going to do this. It was almost like a sliver of hope all of a sudden, even though I had no clue what was in store. And so this was now, because Thursday is when I had the thought, late Thursday night. Friday is when I was going home to do what I was going to go do, take my life. So now I stay down there. I don't go home. I stay in this house I was living in, the party house.
Yeah.
And now it's Saturday, and I decide I'm going to do this. So they said, start with a prayer. So I didn't want anyone to see what I was doing. So I went into this little coat closet, closed the door, and got on my knees because there was coats in the closet. I had to. And I just said, God, if you're there, I need help. That's all I said. I mean, it was as simple as that. And then I came out and I went as long as I could. And the funny thing is, I think I made it maybe 2 hours.
And you're fasting?
But it was the first time since I was 13 smoking pot at Bear Lake that I didn't pop a pill. I didn't have a drink. I didn't smoke a bowl. I didn't do any of that stuff. And and I wasn't eating food or water. You know, you throw that all together and you're a pretty cranky person. And I was really struggling. I really was like this white knuckle, like, oh, and I was irritated. My roommates were like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing. I wouldn't want to tell them. So I make it as long as I made it. I don't even know how long it was, to be honest, but it wasn't very long. But the girl said, end with a prayer. Go back into that closet, close the door. And I said, God, if you're there, I did this fast and I need your help. And I waited. And I thought, okay, if God's real, he's going to show up right now. That's what the girls didn't, explain. Sometimes, prayers take time to get answered, and they'll get answered when they need to, kind of thing. And I didn't know that. So I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. Nothing happened. And I thought I waited forever, but it was maybe a few minutes. I was a very impatient person and nothing happened. And I got wasted. I just literally went straight to getting high. And, it kept me from ending my life. I was still having those thoughts, but something, because of that word, fasting and prayer, that statement, I guess, made me go, I don't know.
Wow.
So here I am. I'm still struggling. About a month later, I get a phone call from a friend of mine who I played basketball with at Brighton. He had since graduated. He went on a mission, was married in the temple, had a kid on the way, I think, or maybe just had his first kid. I can't remember. It might have been on the way. And I get a phone call from him. I hadn't talked since high school. And he goes, Todd, where are you at? And I said, I'm down here in Orem. He goes, so am I. He goes, would you come over? I want to talk to you. I'm like, sure. But I thought it was weird. I'm like, okay, why does he want to talk to me? But again, I was like, yeah, I'll come over. I'll go talk to you. Yeah. So I go over to his place. We sit down on his couch and we're just catching up, right? Just like weather talk. And he starts all of a sudden saying all these good things about me. Like, Todd, you're going to help so many people in this world. You're going to make an impact on people's lives. You are going to, and then he kept saying, you're going to help a lot of kids. And when someone pays you a compliment, makes you uncomfortable, it's because you don't believe it. Yeah. Man, I was getting so uncomfortable. And I finally stopped him. I said, I don't know why you're telling me all this stuff, but my life's a complete mess. And so I have no idea why you're saying this. So I'd appreciate it if you'd stop. I really did. I was like, this is weird. And I can tell now he's a little nervous. We're sitting there, awkward silence. And then all of a sudden he just takes this deep breath. He looks me right in the eye and says, the Lord came to me last night, Todd, and says, we need you on our side today. And he said it with such conviction. And I don't know how to explain it, but I felt, the way I can describe it is I felt love on a level I've never felt before in my life. It was like, think about the happiest you've ever, it was like, whoa, what is it? And it was so uncomfortable, to be honest, because I wasn't used to that. I was like, what is this feeling? And my mind rewound back to when I was fasting. So I tell Rich, hey, I fasted and prayed and asked God for help. And Rich gets him in my face and says, this is your help. And I was just like, what? And it was just like this
Wow.
surreal moment. And that opened up this door to me getting the help I needed. And again, that's also another long part of this story, which is really a good one. But that was the beginning of, okay, maybe I can turn my life around, and maybe I can really, maybe not only turn my life around, but maybe I can make a difference in people's lives. I don't know. But it was one of those moments where I was like, I can't believe that just happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, God answers prayers
Yeah.
through people,
Through
right?
people. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Because again, when I did the fasting and prayer, I was just, I mean, I'm naive. I don't know what I'm
You didn't
doing.
know what to
Didn't know
expect
what to
either, right?
expect. I thought this big bolt of lightning was going to come down and boom. And no, it's, you know, it's kind of like you see God in the service of other people and what they do and to help, you see God in their face and in their actions. And that's what I got with
Wow.
with Rich. And Rich is my mentor to this very day. We're going on 40 years.
Wow.
And this guy has my back.
That's
He's
awesome.
one of my
He's the one you
darkest
call.
hour friends.
Yeah.
I can call him when I'm struggling. I can call him and tell him anything. And he's always been there.
So was that then that process that you now are kind of experiencing God for maybe some of the first times in your life? And was that did that momentum pick up quickly with your relationship with him? And how did you decide to become so, like, how did you give it up, like all of this?
That's a great question.
And I
So
know I got to make sure
no,
you've
we're
got.
good. We're good. This is important because I think this part is important because I think can help people who are in the battle right now. So to be quite honest, I'm just gonna be upfront. As good as that experience was, and I will never deny it, that happened. I still struggled afterwards.
Yeah.
You think, oh yeah, boom, I quit doing drugs that very day and life was great. No, I was struggling. I was meeting with a bishop once a week after that. And I didn't even think I had a bishop, but Rich said, you do, you just don't know it.
Oh.
And he lined me up with Bishop Taylor.
Oh.
I started meeting with him on a weekly basis. And we do this for a year and a half. He became my rehab and I didn't realize it.
Wow.
The same time I've got Rich mentoring me through this whole process, right? I'll never forget Rich says, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. I'm like, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that.
You don't want that.
I don't want that. So anyway, it takes me 8.5 months meeting with Bishop Taylor, 8.5 months before I made it 3 days clean.
Wow.
Now, this is before there was a treatment center on every street corner. I didn't know the harmful effects and the danger of detoxing on your own.
Interesting.
I had no clue. I don't think anyone really did. I mean, I was very lucky nothing really bad happened.
Yeah.
To stop drinking cold turkey is a really actually dangerous thing to do.
Wow.
Anyway, so I make it 3 days clean, but I'm still struggling. I have this voice in my head that's saying, Todd, you're pathetic. You're no good. That shame was just still going strong. I'm not kidding you. And this bishop was so patient. He wasn't pushing me to come to church. I mean, I wasn't even going to church. He was just meeting with me.
Yeah.
There was none of that. He was just there. And man, what a giant in my life. Anyway, 3 days clean. I'm leaving my neighborhood. Oh, I got to tell people this who are listening. I was a bartender at the time, which doesn't help.
Place to be when you're trying to overcome it, right?
Yeah. And then the bishop would tell me often, you sure you should be working there? I'm like, oh no, I'm fine. And anyway, but as a bartender, I'd get tips from the waiters and waitresses because I'd make their drinks for their customers. And then anyone that sit at the bar, I'd get tips from them.
Back in the day when we used cash and coins.
And I'd get a lot of quarters, nickels, and dimes, and I would put those in the cup holders of my car. And it would build up over time, and I would buy gas with it, food with it, pot with it. I mean, you name it. And I'm leaving my neighborhood about this 8.5 month mark, and it's a beautiful sunny day, and I'm driving out of my neighborhood. I can't remember where I was even going. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this little girl selling lemonade. No big deal. I just pass on by. And then I had this impression come over me, almost as if it was a voice in my head that said, turn around and give her all the money in your car. And I thought, whoa, okay. I had about $40 in there. And, 40 years ago, that was a lot of money. Anyway, or 36 years ago, whatever it was. Anyway, so I thought, wow, okay. So I flip my car on, I pull up, roll my window down, you had to actually roll it down. One of those. And I asked her how much. I think she said 25 cents. And I said, I'll take one. She pours it to me. I set the cup on the dashboard and I tell this little girl, okay, cup your hands like this. And then I just start scooping all this change in her hand. And she's going, no way, thank you so much. And she's throwing it on the table as fast as I can, put it into her hands. And I go, hold on, I got more. And I keep going. And she's getting emotional. She's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I'm like, oh, no, thank you. I'm glad to give this to you. And I'm going, what is going on here? And I give her the last scoop. She throws it on the table and takes off into her house. And I'm thinking, she's going to go tell her parents some dude out there just gave me $1 million, right? And as I pull away, Trevor, I start to cry like I've never cried before in my entire life. I have to actually pull my car over, put it in park, and I just put my face in my hands and I just sob. It was one of those soul cleansing cries. I mean, I sobbed on a level. It was almost like 10 years of addiction built up in me was coming out.
Wow.
And I cried and I cried. And in that moment, I loved who I was. In that moment, I wanted to be clean. In that moment, I believed that I was a good person. Things that I had never felt before. It was so intense, Trevor. It was like, I'm like, there's no drug on the planet that's given me this.
Wow.
And I remember that all or nothing mentality that I have. I was like, if that girl's there next week, I'm giving her all my money that I'm earning as a bartender. And so on purpose, the next week I do it again. And sure enough, she's out there and she recognizes me, right? And now she's stoked. Oh my gosh, here's the money guy, right? And I give her all my money. I do this the next Saturday and the next. I do this every Saturday for 2.5 months. And every time I pull away, I have to pull the car over and I just sob. I was like, that's when I realized I was a crier.
We're having a good cleanse.
Yeah, we're having a cry. Sorry, folks. Sorry, this makes people uncomfortable. I'm sorry. But they were good tears, though. They were like, you know what? I do matter. And I have this other quote in my office by Ferdinand Foch. It says, the most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. This lit my soul on fire, man. And I thought, you know what? I'll give her all my money. Every day I'm going to give her my money. And I do this for, like I said, 2.5 months. So look at the timeline. I had that experience with the fasting and prayer. 8.5 months, 3 days clean, 2.5 months giving all my money away to lemonade stand. And then that's when I decide I'm going to go to church for the first time in my life. I'm going to go check it out. And I go to church by myself. No one's taking me. I'm just decided to go. And I'm sitting in the back corner going, why am I here? And I look over in the congregation and there's the little lemonade girl and her mom. They recognize me. And that's, and I want to speed up the story a little bit, but it was amazing. I ended up staying the whole time. They come over, the mom hugs me. She's crying. She says, thank you so much for what you've done for my daughter. And, I got to a point where they asked me, would you be willing to take Lindy on this daddy-daughter date? They're asking me. And I go, huh? What about her dad? And they're like, well, we got divorced when she was younger. He's not around. She really would like you to take her. And little does she know she's asking this alcoholic drug addict, she just thinks I'm some nice guy at church who's giving away money at the lemonade stand. She had no clue of my background, which she didn't find out till 25 years later.
Was that at that event that I remember being at an event. She was there, right?
Yes, that was it. She was like, oh my gosh, Todd, I didn't know that. Anyway, we had a good laugh about it. But anyway, I take this girl, Lindy, daddy-daughter date. We're up there at this daddy-daughter date. I'm out of place. I didn't want to really be there, to be quite honest. Not because I didn't like Lindy, but I just this isn't my thing. Yeah. And I don't know anyone. And all the dads are with their daughters. Well, they gather everyone in to say a prayer and to bless the food, which I thought was weird. Bless food? You're going to bless hot dogs? Like, who does that, right? I'm an infant.
They're hot dogs. You need to make sure they're blessed.
That's true. So everyone folds their arms. So I'm following suit. I fold my arms and this guy gives a simple little prayer on blessing of the food. And in that prayer, I hear a voice in my head as clear as I'm talking to you right now. That says, Todd, you're in the right place, doing the right thing. You made an impact on this girl's life that she'll never forget, and I love you. And I lose it, Trevor. I lose it.
Over that hot dog prayer.
Yeah. And everyone's, when the prayers are like, dude, relax, it's hot dogs, And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, guys, these are happy tears. And Lindy's like, are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, oh yeah, these are happy tears. And that was when I decided, Trevor, because I believe change happens the moment you decide. And I decided in that moment that I was done putting poison in my body. I was done. And I'm going to do my best to be honest, to have integrity, to be accountable, and I'm going to help people because I believe that that's the foundation of a good life right there. Anything on top of that is great. But for me, that was simple enough to follow, you know, and I got a lot of that direction from Rich, my mentor, is live by these principles, Todd. Just make that your passion and do the best you can at those. But I knew I was done.
Wow.
I knew I was done putting poison in my body. It was done. And then that's when I, you know, eventually got the inspiration from God to do the Sly Dog program in elementary schools. And I ended up speaking to 350,000 kids. And that's how my coaching started. And that was 36 years ago. And here
And
I am.
one-on-one coaching sessions you've done,
Oh,
or people?
A little over 18,000 sessions. Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe it. I go, what is going on here? And I believe it happened for me, all of it. I'm grateful I took that drink at 11 because I get to sit here with Trevor today. I'm one of the lucky ones. I shouldn't be here. And I know a lot of people die and I'm not here to take that for granted, but I am here and I have a responsibility to help someone who's in the fire right now or help them not even go into the fire. But that's my responsibility. I really believe that. And so I'm grateful for that drink because I get to talk to Trevor today.
Wow. Well, I'm grateful that you're here alive and you've experienced the things the way that you have so that you can be most powerfully positioned to serve anyone listening to this call. I don't know. You don't have to be an alcoholic. You don't have to be a drug addict addict to listen to Todd and feel inspired about even your own self-worth.
Yeah.
And when I listen to you and I hear, and it's like, yeah, I've got those voices in my head that tell me lies, you know?
Yeah.
And we all do at times.
We
and
do.
There's this imposter that works his way in. And sometimes you don't know what that is. Sometimes in life, you need somebody to help tell you this is what's going on. And maybe one person to believe in you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where Rich came into my life. He told me in the beginning, I believe in you. This will be the hardest thing you do, but I believe in you. And when I told him I wanted to coach and do all these things, he goes, you know what would be the hardest thing for you to do? If that's what you want to do. I'm like, what? He goes, practice what you preach. And I was like, okay. Wow. He says, don't just share a message, be the message. And if you do that, people are going to show up and you're going to make an impact on a level that you can't even believe. And he saw the vision before I ever saw it. So I owe so much.
So how important is that for people to find a Rich, right?
We need mentors in our lives. I'm sorry, guys. We just do.
How do you find that if you don't feel like you have it? What does somebody do?
Be bold and reach out to people. Okay. Ask them, hey, would you be? I've had so many people over the years, Todd, will you be my mentor? And I always say yes. Yeah. I mean, how can I say no?
How do you keep up with everyone that wants you to be the mentor? Because I'm like, Todd, you be my mentor.
I get myself in trouble. Sorry, honey. I really do have a hard time saying no. And I know sometimes I have to kind of keep some boundaries on that. And I get that because I got to, but I'm in a position in my life now. My kids are grown up and that's been a blessing. My kids are all doing fantastic. Thankfully.
What does mentorship for you in the home been like? What's that experience been like as a father?
And to mentor my kids,
to mentor your kids.
One of the best things I ever did for my kids, and again, thanks to Rich, who's a giant that allowed me to stand on his shoulders to see this, because I wouldn't have seen it without his shoulders. Is that when my kids turned 12 years old, I have 4 of them. When they all turned 12, I took them on an individual date. And I shared my story with them. I shared the whole thing. Now, I didn't give them all the gory details, right? But I gave them enough. And I looked at him. I said, the reason why Dad's telling you this is I don't want you to go down the path I went down. And you know what's so amazing about this? I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. I can't even talk. But they'll tell you to this day, that moment for me changed my life, Dad. They're 12. They're 12 years old. But here's what I find with my clients who are younger, who are struggling. They'll share some really heavy stuff with me and I'll say, have you ever told your parents this? And I always hear this answer, no, I can't tell them that because they've never done anything wrong. And I'll say, no, they have. They just haven't told you. And I'm not saying as parents we need to tell all our kids all of our gory past, but if our kids think that we're these perfect parents and they make a mistake, yeah, it's going to be scary to go, "Oh, I can't tell them; they won't get it.
Mm.
Something must be wrong with me." But when they know Dad was this dude, okay, yeah, and again, I'm not perfect parent by any stretch, but that moment was one of those moments where it opened up the door for my kids to come talk to me. Like, oh, I had a couple of my kids say, "Hey, someone offered me to smoke pot with them today," and instead of me freaking out, going, "Who was it? I'm going to call the principal." I'm like, "What did you tell him?" And they said, "I told him no." I said, "Good job." And I didn't. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need to be like, let's track this kid down and let's, you know, again, I want that kid to get help too. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's if you have an individual relationship with your children individually and have an individual date with them once a month is key. I learned that from my mentor as well. That is where it's at, because then when you have the relationship, then you can discipline without them fighting back. Then they can come to you and go, "Hey, Dad, this happened at school today. I just want to let you know, I slept 7th period and the teacher was ticked and I'm in trouble, but I'm just going to give you a heads up." And then you go, "Hey, I appreciate you telling me the truth. That means a lot to me, son. Thank you."
Wow.
And again, I get it. We're human beings, and sometimes we'll go off the handle. I'm guilty as charged, but if we work on those things, it really does make a
Do you
difference.
do that just you one-on-one with your kids, or do you and your wife do it together with them, or how have you
I did
seen
my
it work best?
one-on-ones, and then my wife did
She
her
did as well.
one-on-ones. Yeah. And
All
then
that
obviously we did
incredible
family
time.
togetherness.
Yeah.
But man, it's that one-on-one, just individual time where they get to know me and I get to know them on it, because we all maybe are a little different when not everyone's around.
Yeah.
Our family even. So it's kind of fun to do that. And
Wow.
and they look forward to it too, especially when they're younger. They're like,
That's
"Oh my gosh, I got to go on a date with Dad." And,
Yeah.
we got to go do this or we got to go do that. And it's just one of the coolest things I've learned. And again, thanks to my mentor who said, "Todd, do this with your children."
Wow.
I'm like, "Thank you for telling me that." It made all the difference.
So, if you don't have a mentor, utilize this podcast as one of your mentorship opportunities to
Yes.
be taught by Todd and the things that he's doing, because that's so key. I mean, you talked as we started, like the lack of communication in your home, and now the mentor teaches you communication in your home and how
Yeah.
impactful and
I
important that
know.
is.
Yeah.
And so, just kind of bringing that back full circle, and it's all about connecting in these relationships, and we have to do that through
Yeah.
words and actions, and our core value of the month here at Mountain Ops right now. This will air maybe after this month. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but
Yeah.
the core value is service.
Mm.
And I just think of this little girl at the lemonade stand and you and that act of service, what that did for your soul to cleanse you and to speak truth to your mind about who you are.
Yeah.
It's amazing what will happen and transpire in our lives when we are looking out for the good of others. She didn't probably need that money, but you did something that brought joy into her life that
Yeah.
caused her to feel
Oh yeah.
like this is the best day ever, right?
Yeah.
What more can we do for people? And so I would say, I don't know when I heard you share that story first. It was probably at that event, and
Yeah.
you had my brother share some thoughts at it as
Oh, yeah.
well.
Mhm.
And there was a lemonade stand outside
Yeah.
the door. And I swear I have not been able to pass a lemonade stand since.
That's awesome.
And even
Yeah.
just this last week, we don't carry cash around a lot, so
Yeah.
I have a really hard time when I see a kid and I'm like, oh man, can I give him a stick of Ignite or something?
Yeah. Right.
But a lot of times it's like I stop and I'll say, I'll be back. How long are you going to be here?
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm on my way to do something. But just
Yeah.
this last week, a young man, and he said, I'll be here all night, so then and it was a Todd Sylvester I remembered.
Wow.
And so I did the thing I needed to do with my wife. We drove back past. I gave him I told him 1 more minute, got on my bike, got into the coin jar at home, loaded up, it was probably,
so
I think it was $5 and went
Yeah.
down and bought a $5 cup of lemonade. And I'll always remember that. And
Wow.
I remember his dad was pulling out. He's like, don't be too generous with him. And I just thought, I've been taught by someone to be as generous. I should have given more than 5, but I took
Oh.
$5 down, and it was
amazing.
be generous with people. Give what you can.
Yeah.
And let your soul and your life and your heart be cleansed.
Yeah.
Let your eyes be cleansed with
Let them be
the
cleansed
tears.
for
Right?
sure. Well, if I can add, and we shared this on your podcast with me, I had a client share this with me, and I know you're going to love this again. He said, I tried to find myself I could not see. I tried to find my God eluded me. I tried to find my brother, I found all three.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's at. And here's what's so beautiful about when we do service for others. Because what I found at the lemonade stand is I gave away my money, and what I got in return is I got my life.
Hmm.
And I think that was a teachable moment. And God was trying to teach me this is what a life well lived looks like and should look like, right? And I really look back at that moment. That's what I learned. And I also believe this: you learn what your purpose is when you serve. I think you get the inspiration of, because when I was doing that, I'm like, oh, I want more of this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can I help kids to have that reaction? And that's when I created that drug awareness program for elementary schools. It stemmed from the lemonade stand. So I'm a big believer that if you don't know what your purpose is, now go out of your way and make a difference in someone's life. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be $5. It could be holding the door for someone. It could be whatever. And you guys do this every day with the food you guys give out to the world, which is amazing. But I think that's where you're going to find your purpose. You're going to get inspiration, revelation that's going to say, okay, take this feeling and go do this because this is why you're here.
Yeah.
Right?
I 100% agree. In fact, I don't, hopefully I won't share names, but I had a young man ask me just 2 days ago if I could give him a priesthood blessing. I haven't caught up with this young man in a while, and so I wasn't exactly sure, but I could tell like he's wanting companionship in his life.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
seeking out the one.
Yeah.
And and as I laid my hands on his head and I gave this priesthood blessing, I didn't have this prepared beforehand, but the words that came to me pronounced upon him were that as he reaches out in acts of service, that he will find
Wow.
the individual. And so it's just, and we talked about it after, and I don't know if you felt that, but it's through going out of yourself, going
Yes.
out and being present with others who maybe need you, that I feel like people are going to show up on your path. The one, or somebody who could be the one is going to show up on your path. I just feel like the blessings come our way when that
100%.
is when that's being put into action in our life. So
Yeah, I love
and
that.
you're such a demonstration of that.
Thank you.
You've got a client that you've got to get to your office to go see. I've listened to multiple podcasts with you on it, and every podcast host says we need to have you back because we've only heard parts of your story, and I have so many. If we didn't have that break, I would have other questions. I do have one last question that I ask all of our podcast guests.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a book. I don't know if you've read How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen.
I have not.
Okay,
no.
that's one I'd challenge you to read. It's incredible. And that's my question. When all is said and done, you're a conqueror. I mean, look at the life that you've lived, the things that you've conquered, overcome, the way that one of my favorite quotes, and I've shared it already in this, is that you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You're most powerfully positioned to help somebody conquer the things that you've once conquered.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you've done that for thousands and thousands of people. And I can only imagine when I think of like, somebody that's improving their life because of the life of another, how does that ripple then through the generations?
Yeah.
So it's not just 18,000 one-on-one sessions. It's like, where does that go from there? What conversations are being had? What lives are being influenced from that? It's like, I celebrate it, man. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Keep
Thank
it
you
up,
so
keep
much.
conquering. How will you measure your life? Have you thought about that?
I think at the end of the day is my kids, as I'm older, I think the true definition of success is they want to hang out with me.
Awesome.
And they do. And I'm grateful for that. We still hang out all the time. And to me, that is the measure of success when it comes to, if I have that strong relationship with my family till the day I die, I think I've done my job.
Yeah.
I really do. Now, if we have more than that, then great. But at the end of the day, if I'm doing all this good stuff, but yet I don't have that, then what's the point of having that? And so my family means the world to me, and I want to have that relationship with them even in their later years, and I still want to hang out with them and they want to hang out with me, and I'm very blessed in that area, But I do know this too. if you want to leave a legacy, you have to write your story down, because 100 years from now, people aren't going to remember Todd Sylvester. But if I have my story written down, some kid in high school is going to read that book and it's going to save his life. And I'm not even here. That's how you leave a legacy. Truly.
Wow. You're awesome, Todd. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
Love you
man.
very
I
much.
love
Thank
you
you
too.
for being on here. We'll do
Thanks
it
for having
again
me.
for sure.
I would love to do it again. You just let me know.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please share this. Please subscribe.
Yes,
I'm excited for this to get out to our audience. So
thanks for having me.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.
Yep.